Good
We're
afternoon.
live.
Our internet's actually working today.
Woohoo.
Yep, sorry about having to cut it short last week, but here we are. I'm PinkAppleJam,
And I am Raggedyman.
and today we've got an update from the mighty Super Fortress Hardcore Genki. Our thoughts on geekery we've consumed and made in May, and a little bit of June as well.
And if we continue to have no technical issues, such as me hitting the old intro rather than the new intro, then at 4 p.m. we'll have a gaming video maker running wild in the creative corner.
Dun, dun, dun. So, Andy, what should we start off with?
Oh, I don't know. What about that timeless classic of Love, Death, and Robots?
You know, I've been calling it Love, Sex, and Robots for about 2 years.
Yeah. So, second season has come out. Oh, hang on. We are now live. Twitch. Hang on.
Well, what were we saying about technical errors? Never mind.
What were we saying about technical errors? Right, where was I? We are 2 years after Netflix filled our screens with an assortment of animated cyberpunkery, dark sci-fi, and flapping genitalia. The series has returned with 8 episodes. It clocks in at just over an hour and a half, offering up satire, Lovecraftian horror, space opera, surrealism, and more in its ongoing anthology format, of which it very definitely anthologizes. And what are we thinking to it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it felt a bit more mature than the first bunch. Like, I enjoyed the first bunch, but the first bunch all kind of, it covered territory we've already read 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of them were adaptations of like 20-year-old shorts.
If that's the case, that's fine. I'm not sure how well they held up in that, if that's the case. Yeah, so it just contained less assault, so that was nice, and less random nudity for no reason, and basically there were actually stories. I mean, there were in the first season. I'm being facetious, obviously, but Andy, would you agree? Or
no, there's definitely a reduction in the random and unnecessary nudity. I mean, neither of us has got a massive problem with nudity in this kind of thing, and I'd say neither of us. I definitely don't have a problem with sexual assault as a plot device per se. I definitely had a problem with the way it was done in this show in the previous season. But yeah, they've definitely on both of those fronts massively cut it down. There was a bit more equality on the nudity, and the sexy bits were actually sexy, which to me was a first in this series.
it's a shame it took till season 2, but at least we're there now. You know, I think we've got all genres covered. For me, it was mainly horror and some comedy mixed together. Like, the first short covered retirees and their robot servants going a bit AWOL and then turning it into a proper action, a Metal Gear Solid-esque escape from the evil cleaning bot.
Yeah,
you know, so you'll we had the clip show, and you saw the gray-haired elder lady. You know, she was the protagonist with that, and her cute little dog. So she was the serious character, her dog was like the comedy sidekick sort of thing. Having that mixed together, it kind of worked well because it was horrific. It didn't really hold back in any way, I felt.
I thought that one was very Dark Mirror.
Yes, Black Mirror. It was absolutely Black Mirror. And it was a really good introduction, I think, to season 2.
It was. I think there was definitely a lot less cyberpunk in this one. But as it was only 8 shows compared to the previous season, I think they've done that thing where they split it in half. I'm not 100% sure.
So we might have season 2 part B, or a shorter season 3 to follow.
I think I think they're calling him part B or chapter or whatever. But that was a bit of a shame too for me, but it definitely, there was a lot more variety in the stories being told for me, and there was the stories themselves were just really, really solid. I mean, there was an amazing Lovecraftian one in it that just went full-blown Lovecraft. There was some really nice space opera that went full-blown space opera. It kind of stopped mucking around with the idea of going, hey, we're an 18 rated animation, woo, and went, what if we just told a story where we could tell whatever story we want and not worry about it being appropriate for kids, which is the way to do it, in my opinion.
I mean, not everything should be kidified, but also you don't want to turn off your viewership in a really shitty stereotypical way, do you?
I want adult animation that's aimed at adults, not adult animation that's aimed at 15-year-old edgelords.
I think that's a great comment.
But people in the viewing gallery, of which we actually have them, if you saw it, tell us your thoughts. Please hit us up. Let us know what you think. This is not just us talking away, but yeah. Do you have any other thoughts on that one? Because this is something we've been looking forward to for 2 years. Because I did a post on Bunkazilla, a review of the original series that was kind of scathing, or a lot of people took as very scathing. But I was honestly really excited for the series because at least it does something a bit more out there.
Well, I felt the first season was kind of stereotypical. So for this series, I think there could have been more done with the theme of cyberpunk before they branched off perhaps into comedy horror, with some steampunk in some of them, but it was varied. I just think it really goes to show what a narrow view of cyberpunk people actually have, and also what whoever gets to sign it off, what narrow view of cyberpunk they have as well. Yeah. So maybe the rest of the season, if we've got another bit to season 2 or a short season 3, maybe it will merge both. But I enjoyed it, but it wasn't a particular game changer for me. But I'm always glad to see animation on Netflix and streaming. It would have been absolutely something that I would have adored as a teenager. Absolutely. Yeah. I think just as an elder viewer now, I think I've kind of seen half of it, and it just takes a lot maybe to make me go, ooh, maybe compared to how it used to.
That was the thing. There was no there was an episode in the previous one, Zima Blue, that I thought was one of the best cyberpunk stories I'd seen for a while, and also was very beautifully animated. It had this wonderful abstract style that totally grabbed what animation can do other than try and be really good a lot of the stuff they're doing this is hyper realistic sci-fi stuff, which is basically we can do sci-fi without the people, therefore it's cheaper. But Zima Blue really went, right, let's do an animation that's very abstract, that's very beautiful. It had a lovely story, it had a lot of that stuff. There wasn't one that really matched that for me. They kind of had either this hyper realistic or this pseudo realistic style, as opposed to being, it was mostly the comedy ones that did the pseudo.
I think if you're just going to watch the one, the Christmas episode. That's the one.
The Christmas episode was just
had me on the floor laughing. It was really horrific at the same time. But that to me, luring you into this weird false sense of security, thinking it's going to be like another Arthur Christmas or like an Aardman animation sort of vibe, and then it completely isn't. It completely throws it. It's so funny.
One thing I would say is if they have split it into 2 batches, I actually like that, because when the first lot came out, it did feel like a marathon trying to get through all of them, and because they're quite short form, anywhere from about 8 to 12 minutes.
Yeah.
It did get very grindy. When you've got that much variety, you've got that much variety of content, and you want to see all of it because it's good. Even though it might have different values and different qualities, it was good enough to keep you watching. Cutting it back so you could do it as like a one shot rather than it just felt a bit less grind.
I agree. There's a couple of things on Netflix that are only 4 minutes long, and 1.5 minutes of that is actually credits. But I think that's absolutely no problem, but I would prefer to see a 20-minute anthology of that sort of thing. Netflix, it's very hard. Any kind of streaming service, it's very hard to find exactly what you need or want to watch sometimes if your search function isn't Google standards or something. So to have a compilation of those kinds of anthologies, I think streaming platforms like Netflix, that's exactly what we need with animation as a whole. I think more indies, more experimental, more genre bending. I think let's see them.
Speaking of genre bending, It's Lucifer.
Yay! So we're at season 5, part 2.
Yes.
Which came out last week. Should I go through the intro?
Yeah, you do the intro.
Sure. So yeah, as I said, it came out last week. We're not going to go into details because it's, it is continually an amazing season. But the thing that made us laugh, cry, I don't know, is that it was going to have a musical. It was going to have a musical episode, but we did not hate it. In fact, we quite liked it, and we don't know how to process these feelings. So, I do find musicals cringe. There are lots of musical otaku that I know, and I love them. They see and feel something in musicals that I clearly don't. I get FOMO about this. I clearly not very good at laughing at myself or something because I don't know. I just find them too cringy, and I'm a person who embraces the cringe. But musical episodes, they often overstep the mark.
I enjoy musicals, but musical episodes are always bone. They're always horribly.
They should have played it.
So, we will be on to that later. Hold that thought because we're going to be covering Eurovision in a bit. Because by God, we found some quality memes for that, and we're not just because the MoleMan ate the bloody uplink doesn't mean we're giving up on showing you guys them. But they didn't play "Are You Ding Dong." They did do a number of very well chosen songs. I don't want to give spoilers away, but I want to talk about this.
Cheesy songs, but they worked well. So for me, I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I watched it at the time. Literally, the only episode I have not seen is the musical episode. I cannot bring myself to watch them. They feel smug. They feel knowingly in joke. Purely for
shoehorned.
Yes, and if you're not a theatre nerd, it's off-putting. But the thing about Lucifer is that these episodes are these songs within this episode, I should say, are completely ridiculous, and Lucifer knows it.
Yeah, it's got that delightful Lucifer self-awareness. I mean, for me, I think one of the big reasons it worked is because they've already got in the series, over all the seasons, they've got this well-established thing where characters will sing, and it's often a vignette of Lucifer at piano doing modern song to a montage of what's going on with the rest of the plot to build pathos, to build setting, to build understanding. And this is a well-established motif within the series. People singing songs to get across feelings and expressions because they're just singing a song. Great. They've already got that. So to then put it into... It's probably the most played for and deserving musical episode other than maybe Fame. Which was about, theatre kids being theatre kids. So, of course, there was song and dance. I just thought they really... even before I saw it, I wasn't instantly wanting to burn the house down because it might be on the telly. I still thought it'd be pants, but yeah, it wasn't.
What I found quite compelling about Lucifer, the entire TV series, right from the start, is that, the theme is, embrace the ridiculousness of it. Angels, demons, God comes to earth. Come on, it is ridiculous. They know it. But the poignancy in the little places, every now and again, those themes, they just, in particular in this episode, they just all play well. So I just think they handled the balance well. They did. It wasn't off-putting. It took the mickey out of itself and those kinds of musical episodes that you find in TV series. But it played it so well.
I think it was also because the song and dance was 100% within that world. They didn't change. Got to be careful with how I say this. They didn't change the rules of the world. It wasn't out of character. They didn't have to pull a reason out their arse why suddenly everyone was singing and dancing. It was completely in character, brilliantly so. Especially as a number of the participants knew that everyone was breaking into song and dance, and they knew it was stupid, and they made comments about the fact that this is ridiculous and stupid, and why is everyone singing? That kind of thing. It helps that they are the main characters like angels and God, so you can get away with that. but it's so it built it into it rather than steamrolling it. If anyone out there can name a musical that has done that done a musical episode that has managed to achieve that, please again hit us up. But yeah, I think that definitely worked a lot for it.
For sure. We won't talk about the finale of the season. No spoilers.
God, no.
No spoilers.
No.
All I'm gonna say is that I still think the wings are really good. You
Yeah.
know, they're such good CG for TV. So good.
Yeah.
You feel the weight of them. The characters don't fall over backwards. You know,
the wings look excellent. The other thing I was going to say, I think the episode really works because it's part of the overarching plot.
Yes.
It's not a random episode. It is a part of the ongoing story, and it actually adds to it beyond going, "Ooh, look at us, aren't we special?" So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So,
who wants to go over to the next?
I will take on the next one.
All right.
Because it's the depressing one. It's the very depressing one because the other thing we watched, not unfortunately, we watched Nail Bomber, Manhunter, and that was it's another true life murder program. This time it's about the sick bastard that ran a bombing campaign in London in 1999. It focused on the survivors, the communities affected, and those outside of the police who are helping track down the aforementioned dickhead. It's an insight into a terrifying but mercifully brief 2 weeks in British history. Also includes interviews with a person who spent 20 years infiltrating the terrorists hard right in the UK. So the gentleman in the hoodie with his face covered. It's not quite clear whether that was an interview with him or whether that was a dramatization of a dramatization of interviews with him. But one of the central people involved in stopping this terrorism was someone who's given up his life to have everyone think he's a Nazi, so he can feed people info about him being about the Nazis, which is pretty hardcore. So that's cool.
Was an incredible watch. Really compelling. For me, I was completely out of the loop with television news when this happened in my lifetime. So I went to university in 1999, exactly when this was happening. We didn't have the internet yet, ancient, but we didn't have a television. I think in our uni dorms, I wasn't picking up newspapers. So yeah, I was like, what the heck was this about? I have to watch it. It was, as Andy said, it was like mercifully swift, but like no less carnage. The amount of problems that this person caused just because he didn't like people who went to a gay pub, who got on with each other, and his carnage affected. His intent was gay people because he was complete homophobic. But obviously within his wake, his carnage damaged everybody, not just his targets, his everybody. Shocking. So this was brought to my attention by the charity Hope Not Hate. And Hope Not Hate does many charitable things, including getting people to give talks in schools about the dangers of radicalization. So even though this happened in 1999, it's just so gross that this is still happening via the internet. People are, and has happened for such a long time. It's just that the platforms have changed. Before it was secret meetups and letters and phone calls. Now it's internet added to all that as well. So the main undercover agent, he actually denied, he didn't want any payment. He just did it. He sacrificed, as Andy said, all this.
Oh yeah, there was a significant, I think it was 70 grand reward for information leading up to the capture of this guy doing it. And the person who broke the case, who identified him, when asked if he wanted the money, he was just like, "What? No, go away."
Yeah, he was like, "No, I needed to do this because it just needed to be done."
So I mean,
go on.
No, you go.
I was just saying, hearing the dialogue read out, as you said, it was like half dramatization, well, half somebody reading it out, because we don't know whether it was actually him or not, in the shadow hoodie. But basically, hearing the dialogue read out taken from telephone calls, It just made me feel so furious. Like he just hated people for being different to him, and so much so that was enough for him to feel like he needed to make bombs to kill people, without any consideration for human life, let alone people who weren't even targets of his hatred. It's just vile, just vile.
I mean, I can't remember this very vividly because apart from anything else, I was in Cambridge at the time, and that's an hour down the road. So it was, because of the series of attacks, we were actually like, he's not going to come up on the train up to Cambridge, is he? And not as a joke, but like, the alternative scene main point was a 10-minute walk from the bus stop. Sorry, from the train station. So it's like, yeah, this guy could get on a train, come up north, plant a bomb where the LGBT club was happening, or in the same place also held a number of like rave nights. There was a number of jungleists nights, places where cultures mixed, and they could blow them up. So that was quite. It was a really, really, really tense time from a distance, and to relive it, was quite. It was worrying. It was very. It got the hairs on the back of my head, because
it didn't overstay its welcome. I think it's like an hour and a bit.
It's an hour and a bit, and that's about all I could handle of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But shocking. But
I mean,
recommended.
The fundamental story is Dickhead decides that he wants to blame everyone else for the fact he's a dickhead. Learns how to make a bomb, kills people because that's what dickheads do, and then gets caught. Thank God. But it was still very, very tense. It gave an insight into the mindset of proper hardcore racists, which I thought was very interesting. I mean, it was the weird way these people are almost. It's like they're cosplaying being Nazis. It's this just very difficult to actually understand that they mean it and that they aren't doing it for. I can't. I mean, the bit that got me was it was really interesting that Bomber's main goal was to be famous and have done something with his life by killing.
Now, to me, that linked clearly to the Columbine and everyone shooting up in skins for the past 20, 30 years or whatever, that ethos. And that's why these terrible excuses for human beings must never be named, because that's what they want.
That's why we're not going to name him.
You talk about what they do, you talk about the people that stop them, you name those people, but you do not name the people, because that's what they want, and it's what encourages people to continue to do this bullshit. So
the other really interesting thing, and this is something that struck very home for me, because for a while one of my interests was reading up and going through a lot of hardcore racist literature, because it intrigued me and that I wanted to know what the hell was wrong with them, if that makes any sense. I'd read their. I mean, I read the Turner Diaries, which I don't encourage anyone to do, and a bunch of, because it's awful. It's this absolute. It's this word salad of hate. I was reading all this stuff because I wanted to try and find like a compelling argument as to why people did this beyond they're a bunch of dicks, and just to try and get inside the mind of these people and all that. It was just the thing I did for a while reading this shit. All I came to the conclusion is what a bunch of twats. But it was the undercover agent admitted that he was starting to be affected by the propaganda. And he himself said, at one point he was asking, did the Holocaust happen? Because he'd spent all this time infiltrating these people. It wasn't that he turned Nazi. It was that he was just like, okay, well, maybe it didn't happen, but they're still bad people. And I thought that was incredibly important, because this person, who is great, had been built up as this almost superhuman like spy, and then he's there just going, yeah, actually it was indoctrinating me. And I thought that was so important and humanizing a moment that it admitted the fact that people doing this kind of stuff do get affected about it, and also how pervasive that stuff is. I mean, I probably never got affected by it because I was never around the people doing it. I was just reading up on it from an analytic level. But this guy was surrounded by people who spent the whole time doing it, and he was starting to pick up their beliefs and their thoughts and all that. So I thought that was really interesting and frightening, frankly. And another great warning. But yeah, it was
yeah, absolutely a lesson, but also awareness raising.
Yeah,
I think, and everything that went into it.
So we heartily encourage anyone out there, give it a watch. Tell us what you think. Speak to us. Let us know you're there. But yeah, just be ready for a rough ride. Especially,
yeah. But I only really like watching and reading about these things where people are actually caught for their stupidity. It's very satisfying how he does get caught, actually. Especially the name of the person on the letter. And again, that's all that I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But it was like, it was such an obvious. I can't talk about it because otherwise
no
I'm
spoilers.
No spoilers.
Main thing,
no spoilers.
Dickhead went down, and as far as I'm
yeah,
aware,
but
he's
it's
still
how.
in jail
I'm not going to say
it.
how, but yeah, if you're going to watch it, there's a good payoff. As
anyway,
well.
onwards to other things.
Segue from real life dickheads to fictional dickheads.
Meanwhile, in the movies.
I still maintain I'm a real, I am real. I am not fictional.
Oh dear, it's when that last DVD case just plonks onto your glasses. It always makes me laugh. But yeah, so Brightburn landed on Netflix, and Andy was really excited to watch it. So we did. So it's now on Netflix. It came out in 2019. It's a superhero horror film. It's written by Mark and Brian Gunn. It asks the question, what if Superman, but asshole? So Jackson A. Dunn stars as Brandon, who's going through a somewhat awkward teenage phase of discovering girls plus godlike superpowers. Elizabeth Banks plays his mom, who loves him very much. She really does. And David Denman is the, you say unsupportive, slightly naff dad because, just because. I don't know.
I thought he was very badly written.
Yeah, he tries his best, but yes, awkward. But this is very, very interesting because we have so many superhero origin films of good guys. But what happens if it didn't work that way? The pacing was really good. It was done well enough it didn't feel like fanfic. I think I was worried that it was going to come off as like some,
because it was very, very analogous to Superman.
Absolutely. So in my opinion, because of that, it was a truly gritty alternative DC universe, like in a parallel non-DC, not even Bizarro world. It was just good parallel universe writing. And the ending was really satisfying. No spoilers. It just was. That's it.
Well, that's your story. Yeah, I was not. As I said, I thought the dad was very badly written. It was far, for my liking, it was far too much. Oh, the mum's great, isn't she wonderful? And then the dad was just naff for no reason. There was no reason for him to be that naff. He just was, and that wound me up. I mean, I did think it showed how amazing Ma and Pa Kent were, because it kind of made me realize, and apologies for this is me being dumb, but there is absolutely no way, realistically, they would have been able to sanction or restrain Clark Kent. He's Superman. What they're going to do? Lock him in the room, put him on the naughty step? There's nothing they could actively do other than using their words and their parenting goodness to make him do, to follow the rules. So the fact that they were able to do that was amazing. But when I'm thinking most of that all the way through, I mean, the kid, I'll actually say the kid was brilliant. The kid was so damn creepy. It was, he was absolutely brilliant. He had this total stalker thing. But they had to put in a mind control element to make him go to do a bastard. It was in there because any other way of doing it would have taken effort from them. They just seem to go down this path of minimum effort all the way through. Like the dad was bad because he had to be. The son went bastard because he had to do. It suffered, and it just had this very limited scope or interest in the topic it was actually trying to discuss, which wound me up. Oh, not sure what's going on there. Okay. But on the plus side, it had some absolutely brilliant gore effects, and that's always good for it. So yeah, I just thought something that came out at this time from that kind of style, after all the other stuff that had come before it, would have a bit more to it. But nah, it just was a very stripped down, very minimal version of what if Clark Kent but a git, and we'll make sure he has to be a git rather than having a really solid trigger event to make him a git, which I didn't like. So I thought there might be more, but no. But you know, you got to see someone's head get melted. That's kind of cool. I'm just trying to hear what is coming. Wait, hey! Yay!
Hey!
Yay!
So sorry, the doorbell rang like 5 times. I was like, "It's just not going to go, is he?"
It's not going to go this time, no.
Like,
the other one bugged off. This one didn't. I was just saying how disappointed I was overall.
Because like I did quite like it in the end. But
I know you did. I didn't dislike it. It was fun to watch. I mean, there was some. I don't want to give away spoilers, but someone literally eats a driving wheel at one point. So a steering wheel. There was some brilliant blood and guts going on. But it just, as I said, it just didn't really interrogate the subject as much as I thought it could have. So it could have easily been better.
They were obsessed with eyes, weren't they?
Yeah, there was a lot. Oh yeah. I mean, does the dogdie.com definitely needs to have an eye trauma section, and at the very top would be this. Repeated eye impacts. I don't think your mic's working.
Is that better?
That's a lot better now. You're unmuted.
Sorry, I muted myself.
Okay. But there we go.
Great. So
if any of you guys have seen it, please shout them out.
Yeah, did it match your expectations? Sadly, it didn't seem to match Andy's expectations, but I was expecting nothing, and I was pleasantly surprised.
I know what else you were pleasantly surprised about. This.
Yeah, New Gods, Nezha Reborn. So this is a 2021 fantasy action film. It's 2 hours long, so get all the popcorn in.
Oh, it was long.
It's great. It's a Chinese 3D animated fantasy film, and it's based on the character of Nezha from the Ming Dynasty novel Investiture of the Gods. So it's steampunk and cyberpunk take on this story. In the film, main biker character Nezha, Li, Nezha is reincarnated in Li, and they reside in the fictional city of Donghai, and this is loosely based on the 1920s Shanghai. So Li/Nezha must settle a 3,000-year-old grudge with the Dragon Clan, and the Dragon Clan are depicted as Yakuza style, Chinese Yakuza in the universe of this fictional Shanghai. It's got steampunk elements, cyberpunk-ish elements, I would say. It was just, I was not expecting it to be as amazing at all. I thought, oh, what's this? And then I was completely blown away. So in my opinion, it's a complete and utter total Pixar challenger. And the themes in it in savage. There is death, there is maiming, there is fighting, there is everything. There's a different kind of family. There's a big water drought. Everybody has to work really hard, limited water, family support. It's just beautiful. And at the end, it turns out that there are 2 sequels in the works. And I'm like, great. So I hope Netflix put them on for a global audience to watch. I'm not sure whether it got released in China prior to COVID. I'm guessing not, because it's 2021. But it was, you could tell when it was, some of the scenes in it were very much IMAX focused.
Quality, yeah.
Lots of things coming towards you, sort of thing, and you know, expecting to be sat in the cinema and have this. But it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I thought, well, if this ever gets a cinematic release in the UK, like I would make sure that I could go and see it, because it would be well worth it.
It was one of their big anime pushes.
Mhm.
So I think they are trying. I don't know if they're bothering going into the cinema, but they're definitely trying to produce cinema quality stuff.
Mhm.
I didn't catch. I saw some of it, but I didn't really get into it. But it's got that look and it's got that feel. There was something about the skin texture. It was almost like animated dolls in a good way, not like in a creepy way, but the skin texture, it had that faux doll, ball jointed
like,
doll look aesthetic.
I was gonna say, like almost
And
like a
then
ball jointed doll. Yeah.
And then they made it realistic.
Mhm.
So everything was very stylized but very realistic. If you get what I mean. And there was explosions and there was exciting bits and there were quiet bits, and
Yeah, there was
yeah,
these
it definitely landed.
bananas motorcycle chase scenes. It happened 2 or 3 times throughout the film. Really, really good.
Yeah,
Like
I
nail-bitingly good.
I think the whole thing about being a Pixar challenger is if they can get it out quickly enough, because Pixar is able to it's built up this momentum. That's where I think other studios kind of fall down. They've built up this huge, we're going to do a hit, we're going to do a hit, we're going to do a hit. But these guys have absolutely got the skills for it. It had that total quality. It sounded brilliant. There was a lot of depth in the soundscape. It looked brilliant. There was the whole thing, the action, the direction, the editing, and that. It was top tier movie quality. So that's definitely a goer for it.
Yeah, but I mean, you didn't see too much of it, as you said, but the little bits that you did say, were you like, wow, did it make you want to watch it again? Or like from the start?
Something about it, something about the story and about the narrative just didn't grab me. Just didn't fit, didn't gel. But it, as I said, the bits that I saw were really, really well done. The characterization was really done. It just wasn't for me. So there's no, I can't think of any flaws in it other than I just didn't care, and fine. That's not a failing. That's just, I don't like it.
Not at all. No, absolutely. And there's a couple of friends like who work in video games and animation industries as well. They were like, it looks amazing, but it just didn't grab me. I think it's just one of those things that it really will or it really won't, and that's absolutely okay, obviously. But we just thought we'd bring it to everybody's attention, you know, because it's such a random thing to find.
As I said before, I'm fine if something doesn't grab me. I'm going to be angry with it or disappointed with it because it's not my thing. But the fact that it's distinct makes me more happy about it. Because if it had kind of grabbed me, all right, then it would have been like not trying to be its own, you know, its definite article. The fact that it just went, no, I will be, and did it. That is like, yeah, you go for that. You're going to find there's going to be an audience for this, and the audience is going to absolutely fucking love it. And that's brilliant because, you know, that's groovy. Talking of things people absolutely love, are we ready to squee? Are we?
Oh, go on. Sure.
Oh, wrong one. I can't find. No, I can't find the Sailor Moon. Anyway, I can't find Sailor Moon. Oh, I've lost the Sailor Moon stuff. Sailor Moon came out and we don't have any animations for it because I suck.
Never mind. Oh dear. So, okay, on Netflix, Pretty Soldier Sailor Moon Eternal dropped on Thursday, part 1 and part 2. So the good thing about this streaming being pushed on a week is that we basically got to see it, and we're going to throw this in. So yeah, it's on Netflix UK. There's literally 0 Sailor Moon available to be easily accessible for UK audiences. So a couple of points just to get people up to speed. So Sailor Moon is a worldwide, globally known magical girl properties. It ran from 1992 onwards from Japan, ran for 5 entire seasons, like hundreds of episodes. It was a global hit practically everywhere in the entire world, apart from the UK, where it received little to no airtime. It showed at like 5:30 in the morning on GMTV for like 12 episodes, and that was literally it. So the anime, it got rebooted a few years ago, and they called it Sailor Moon Crystal. This was like a web release of entire animated episodes. It covered season 1 in the original run, Sailor Moon. Season 2, Sailor Moon R. The R stands for romance, didn't you know? Sailor Moon S. I'm not sure what the S stands for. And then Sailor Moon Crystal 1 and 2. They were basically accurate for Sailor Moon R, and Sailor Moon S.
Isn't S like superior or something? It's like 1 above A plus or something.
I guess in the alphabet, PQRS. So I guess because S comes after R. I think that's what people summarized it as. So Sailor Moon Crystal, it was a reboot of the first 3 seasons, but it was done very closely, taken from the manga. But unfortunately, that also meant that it was really stiff, unfortunately. But so by the time they got to season 3, after 24 episodes or whatever, they were like, no, we need to bring on a new art director and character designer. And it was actually Kazuko Tadano, who worked on the original 1990s Sailor Moon, which was incredible. So there's 3 series of the new Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon Eternal is technically part 4, Sailor Moon Super S. But yeah, the sadness that I feel is that UK viewers, because we never had easy access to the original Sailor Moon in the 90s, and we don't have easy access to the 3 prior series, jumping straight into Sailor Moon Eternal, it won't be easy for fresh viewers. You're going to think, what the heck's going on? If you have any questions, just ask me. I will tell you whether you want me to or not. But yeah, there's 2 films. Each film's an hour each. It covers traditional values, modern values. We've got the core sailors, Moon, Mercury, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and they're dreaming of futures, their goals. They want to have boyfriends, they want to run a shop, they want to run the family business, etc. But then we've also got the modern family. We actually seen the outer sailors. We've got reincarnated baby Saturn, who, by the way, tried to destroy the entire world universe as we know it, because that's just who was reincarnated.
Move on. Forget.
She got reincarnated again as a baby. So Sailor Pluto, Sailor Neptune, and Sailor Uranus, they live together. They're addressed as a family. Mama Pluto, Mama Neptune, Daddy Uranus. And it was actually said, it wasn't just assumed, it was said that this is their core family in this film, and that's so important. But it's just so sweet. So overall, basically, yeah, you've got this solar eclipse. It suddenly happens. Chibiusa, the pink-haired Sailor Moon character, she is basically Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask's daughter from the 30th century, and everybody's reincarnated and kind of live on the earth, but as teenagers. So again, that's one of the things that you're going to think, what is going on?
It is a heck of a movie to jump into unless you know the background.
Absolutely.
But it is a heck of a movie.
Yeah, I mean, it is beautiful. It is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
There's a Pegasus that keeps appearing to Chibi Moon, who needs help. Help me, Chibi Moon, you're my only hope, basically, comes along. And then this random mysterious group appears during this eclipse called the Dead Moon Circus. And their goal is
that was just spectacular.
Nightmares across the world. Thanks, Dead Moon Circus. They need to obtain the legendary silver crystal. It's always somewhere. Every episode, you need to find the silver crystal. Where's it been reincarnated, reborn?
Yeah.
They want to rule the earth and the moon, and then eventually the universe. So
standard stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Tuxedo Mask starts feeling ill, and then he starts pushing Usagi away. He doesn't want her to catch. That's a very, very good COVID analogy there. He doesn't want her to catch
unintentional COVID analogy.
And then poor old Sailor Moon gets this. So it's up to everybody just to get together and battle. And then you've got Queen of the Dead Moon, Nephrania. She just goes mad. There's this mad battle. There's unicorns here and sailors here and
dust bunnies. This is the one problem I had with this entire damn movie. Is the bad guys have some horror? The people behind the series went, "What's a cute, wonderful creature? The dust bunnies from My Neighbor Totoro." Right. We are going to demonize the dust bunnies, and we're going to turn them into this militant quasi-zombie death legion. So you've got these dust bunnies flying around, beating the shit out of the super sailors, and then the super sailors just rushing the bunch of them. It's an absolute dust bunny massacre. Yes, I almost cried, all right? I was that bloody upset. You do not do that with bloody dust bunnies.
Those poor dust
Other than that,
bunnies,
I thought it was lovely, delightful, and all that. But my God, the dust bunny death.
There is a lot of death in Sailor Moon, and that's the thing that
dust bunnies.
it hooks me. It really hooked me. Like, I started watching Sailor Moon when I was a 14-year-old, so I was just at the tail end of like the demographic anyway. But you get you these characters, they've got their flaws. Like Usagi, she's useless. She's got a bad attention span. She doesn't study. She reads comics in class. She just can't focus on anything. There's an internet rumor that she's got ADHD. Bless her. Maybe she does. I don't know. But the whole point is that she will find whatever energy it is that she needs.
LOL!
That's fighting talk. But the thing that really gets me all the time, every single time, I really have to stop having a glass of wine when I'm watching these, because I'm just a blubbering mess.
You are a blubbering mess.
At the end of every single massive, you know what happens? They'll all be fine, but there's just sacrifice. There's so much sacrifice, and you just, these the tight-knit friends, they're brought together by their reincarnated pasts, but they support each other. They find their powers, their strength from somewhere, and they just help you get from one stage to the next. It's just so important. And that's just why I feel so sad that, in America, every single version of Sailor Moon is streaming via the American streaming service Hulu. Like, as a teenage anime fan, I was surrounded by the whole, tits and tentacles and whatever. And, lots of stuff aimed at young men coming out of the pub. But I was a teenage anime fan. I wanted to watch the cutest stuff. I'd seen the video game adaptations of all of this, and I knew about titles that were aimed at teenagers that weren't, manga things. So I was actually asking pen pals to tape Sailor Moon in a language I didn't understand from European television and ship VHS tapes to my address in the 90s. And in the 2000s, I was importing DVDs. The Sailor Moon original series had started being released in dub and sub and cut on DVDs. And in the 2020s, I shouldn't have to be importing Blu-rays to watch Sailor Moon. But here I am. I'm like, come on, you've teased us now, Netflix.
You've got to release the lot.
Really, really hope that they, number one, go forward, because there's going to be another Sailor Moon film or two for the last season. Season 5, Sailor Moon Stars. But I just want there to be an easy way for people to see this gigantic mission.
No reason for there not to be.
I think the reason is sexism, but that's another podcast for another day.
Anyway, speaking of inevitability and sacrifice and Europe, oh boy, it's cultural event time. It's Eurovision.
It's man in a suit.
Once again, 20 countries have got together to the final of the biggest annual TV event. We watched it. We memed it. We drank the bitter tears of its aftermath. But what do we think of it as a show and an event? So, this is... I know Eurovision is Eurovision, and it's one of those things that people think you can't comment on and think you can't critique, but you can, and I will. So, nah. Discord, especially for it. This is the thing. This is one of the things I wanted to talk about. For me personally, part of it for me was platform dilution. You've now got Facebook Eurovision, you've got Twitter Eurovision, you've got Discord Eurovision, you've got all these options for where to go, and they all offer certain pros and certain cons, and some people just don't want to be on various platforms. It's hard to chat with all your friends and get them all interacting in the same place and getting the maximum number of people. So you basically have to choose which one you go on. And it was a comment a very dear friend of mine said, because I previously, before Discord became a thing, I'd set up a group called Eurovision Shitposting on Facebook. And because me and Laura for the last year have been using, for the last while have been using Discord for loads of things, we're like, right, this will be so much better on Discord. So we posted up and they're going, yeah, we're going to be doing that. And they all just went, nah, we don't even know what Discord is. Why are we going to install it for one show?
Yeah, we tried doing, we did Facebook last year, but the algorithm did not show you anything.
2 years ago, there wasn't Eurovision last year.
Oh, sorry, the last Eurovision then.
Last
we
Eurovision.
did it on Facebook, and it wasn't as good as Twitter because it just popped. I mean, I was getting Eurovision notifications 24, 48 hours after the event.
Yeah,
I was like, that's
but
stupid.
In the 2 years where we discovered Discord had been amazing, they hadn't moved along. And the quote from my mate was, when I said, yeah, but we're all on Discord, it's, we'll be there on Discord, why don't you come and join us? There we go. That's like me saying, I miss going to the pub with you and you telling me that you went drinking at home. And it is, you've got to make choices who you're going to be doing what with. And that's quite brutal. That's not fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, originally, Eurovision was good party telly. Like, you'd come round or, have people watch and talk about it afterwards in the 80s, 90s, and then at parties, as soon as, university age, people started going around to each other's places and watch Eurovision. But for me, personally, social media took it to a new level. Like, having that in real life Twitch stream, and Twitch chat, can't get my words out today. But it was just funnier. Like, there'd be people outside of your circle retweeting like things that people had drawn, like caricatures of the singers and funny jokes and puns, and like it just made it a really great group experience.
It absolutely does, and we got our favorite memes picked. But it's also, do you go on Twitter where you're probably going to find some absolute gems, but you're not able to hang out with your mates?
Yeah.
Or do you do a charity? It's so. The one thing I would say, the other thing I'd say is, they've really sped up the show.
Yeah,
they are constantly improving, because this year they've now got it down to just giving the 12 points.
Yeah, and
it was brutally fast this year. It's brilliant.
It used to finish at like 10, 11 p.m. But like everyone's gone to bed by then, and we'll have to
finish about midnight or some shit,
and not care about it. But yeah, like everything's done by 11 now. You've got the votes and everything, and it's so much better, because that was the poor part of Eurovision.
There's
like 15, 20 years ago.
Bit of me which is incredibly old and goes, "Ooh, kids these days, they don't know what it was like waiting hour and a half to find out who'd won." And then there's another bit of me which goes, "They got that done in 20 minutes and then played some more music. Great."
And that's what it should be.
But I like the fact they're embracing and they're improving and they're moving stuff on. So that was very cool.
I think it's a better show. But my main problem is, like, it's a running sad joke that every time we've got to sack the people from, we've got to basically, number one, we've got to sack the government who are ruining the UK. And then we've got to the incompetent fools who make up the Eurovision groups to choose. They just choose some bloke. So the chap in the zippy coat that his name's James.
I refuse to remember his name.
Bless him. It wasn't.
He's going nowhere.
No, but the thing is, he got nil points from the audience. Nil points.
Justified.
He just got nil points all the way through. But the audience went wild in support for him, because it's not his fault that he maybe didn't have the best voice and the song was so boring. Like, there's no art from England. You just choose some bloke and ping them off to Eurovision year after year. That's
some of it I maintain. The judging panel this year, the difference between the difference in the results was very telling. I think I'm going to make two comments. Number one, I think because we get the automatic entry, we are so complacent that we're going to be in Eurovision. We never have to think how we're going to get in there. We're just like, we're going, we're doing it. The other thing is that just the nil point was totally justified. It was Can anyone even remember it?
Oh no, absolutely not. But like I said, there's no art. We always lose because we can never laugh at ourselves. Now the whole point of Eurovision is just to it's almost like to embrace the cringe. Like, it should be an enlightened status to embrace the built full on cringe. The wholesomely enjoy a guilt-free Eurovision.
So you're saying people should embrace the event and laugh at themselves?
Well,
Really?
England's bad at that. So
In what sort of
England has got to learn. The UK has got to learn.
in what sort of medium do you think that could best be expressed?
Tell
Because
me,
I
Andy.
think it might be through stuff like this, the amazing art. Oh, don't get me on about that Germany one. That was off.
Oh, yeah.
That was
exactly Germany. You know,
But
they
yeah,
were great, and they didn't care, and they got more points than we did. Even if
yeah,
that many,
fair play.
They got more points than us. But
This
yeah,
one-
show us some memes, Andy. Show us some memes.
These are mine and Laura's favourite memes of the whole event. This one I absolutely adored because the dancing hand was the stupidest thing ever. That was just ridiculous. This was the as Ms. Kima, yeah. The fact that they took a joke from the Eurovision movie from last year and they ran with it, and they produced. Iceland then had this guy trying to give 12 points to Yaya Ding Dong. Everyone embraced Yaya Ding Dong. I know some people have issues with Will Ferrell. I'm not going to criticize that because comedy is highly subjective. But the fact that the Eurovision audience, the Eurovision crowd, I think it was not Iceland, it was Finland with their metal band, were holding up signs saying "Play Yaya Ding Dong" and all that stuff. They have embraced. It's not corny. It is exceptional because people actually. It's a wonderful joke.
Cringe. That's what you've got to do.
It's not,
like I
yeah.
said. It is cringe. It's in a great freeing way.
And this one, never forget, whatever you're doing, you should be painting. And yeah, no, when I saw the guy allegedly do the line, I was just like, number one, no one is that dumb. But number two, yeah, but
So
that is the single best.
The guy had spotted some broken glass on the floor.
Yeah.
But that's what it looked like.
It looked like he was doing a line.
Yeah.
But I just think, whatever you're doing, never forget you could be painting. Anyway, these are your three.
Yeah. Yeah. Next.
Yeah.
Next. Nothing else to add.
This totally. Switzerland and France were both on the way to win with, quite frankly, all right songs. And then Italy just in the number wang just blew them out the water.
Oh, the number wang. That is the perfect way to describe the viewer vote.
People who don't know Eurovision, each country posts up its points. Each country gives its 12 points. That all goes, and that's the judges' point. And then the other half gets decided by the audience. And they do that in a round that lasts about 3 minutes, and basically just numbers flying on the screen and everyone jumping huge places, except for us who stayed still.
Yeah,
it's wonderful. It's furious, and that was just with the horny bat beating up Switzerland and France. Oh gosh, wrong one. Yeah, and this one, absolute truth. Everyone being so brutal. We were going to talk about an HR bomber guy bit, but I don't think we've got time now.
No, we're going to save that for the end of June.
We're going to save that for June.
Yeah, end of
Part
June.
2.
Yeah.
Because we do have, joining us all the way from wherever he comes from, we have got a wonderful Ushio.
Woo!
Oh, fucking hell, it's a MoleMan. You're on the bloody internet. I'm going to bean you.
Hey, Ushio, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. How's the mic? You hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
I'm
Okay, that's fine.
disappearing. I don't know why. I need to sort that out. So,
yeah, if I turn on the green screen, I'll do the same. So I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Amazing.
I am going to hit the magic button to make this all very official.
Meanwhile, in the creative corner.
Yes, it is the creative corner. It is that time of the show where we get creative people, or in this case, creative MoleMen, and ask them about the wonderful art that they create. And ask them loads and loads of questions. And you lot hopefully ask them questions as well. So hit up the questions on the comments. Oh my God, that was so cute.
I've just been frantically drawing.
Oh, fantastic. So,
There's no
Ushio,
shame. There's no
how would
shame.
you describe the stuff that you make?
I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, to be honest. I have a bit of a short attention span, I suppose, because I kind of bounce between projects all the time. So I used to do like comics back in the day. Now I do YouTube stuff, but I've got 2 different YouTube channels, one for gaming, one for manga. I do drawings. If I get bored, maybe I'll make a costume. I didn't make this. This is straight off eBay, but maybe one day I'll make another costume. But yeah, if I feel like doing something, I'll do it. But that's about it, really.
I think we should give the audience a sneak preview of the kind of thing you do in the Ushio Gaming. Just give them a slice. You may hear some rude words and me and Laura screaming. Is the sound coming through?
I can't hear the sound.
No sound.
No sound.
No, but you can see all of our avatars. We basically join up on a Friday night and we go spooping. We play very spoopy games. So this is Handy Harry's, I think. Oh, look, we're all dead already. Amazing. Yeah. Great segue there. Yeah, it's great. It's a good laugh. We basically started playing these spoopy games, specifically, I think, when COVID hit. So we've been playing games for a long time, I think.
Sounds back on. Sounds back on.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. There we go. But Ushio, you were making videos long before we all started playing these spooky games together, weren't you?
Yeah. I've been doing it for a while, and it's weird. Some channels, they will specialize in like a specific kind of game or like one title, and that's their thing. But I kind of bounce around. So I typically go with like narrative focused games, but that will still be like RPGs or like point and click, or it'll be like visual novels. Yeah, heard a bit of all that. That's all fine. But yeah, I just play different kinds of stuff. But now, like thanks to your invitation, like with Phasmophobia and that, we can now do some like multiplayer gameplays and just kind of have more fun. And yeah, it's just fun to do, and it helps you feel a bit productive if you just got little gameplays coming out every now and then that you've kind of done something that you can share with other people. It's kind of cute. It's kind of fun.
So what do you use to grab this? What kit do you use software wise?
It's pretty low spec, to be honest. I just use OBS, and then I just record it raw, and I use Audacity to record my audio. So that means that if I have a coughing fit or something, I can just edit it out. that kind of thing.
Both of those are, for people who don't know, Audacity and OBS are both free software.
Yes.
Very reliable. Solid bits. I've been using Audacity for years. It's basically a professional grade.
Yeah, and it's free, so that's the best thing about it.
Yeah. So with the OBS, do you need to get any extra plugins, or are you just able to take the screen straight into it?
I just set it up as the whole screen. I just take the whole screen. So I've actually got a 2-screen setup. So I never used to. I just had it all on my laptop. It was really low grade. So I just had like one window for the gameplay. Then I could kind of keep an eye on OBS and then Audacity and all scattered around the same screen. But now I've got a 2-screen setup. So the game's on one screen. So the resolution's a bit clearer. It's not quite so muddy and pixelated. And on the other screen, I'll have like all the recording stuff. And I can kind of like chop and change as the recording's going on, just to make sure I have pressed record, because it has happened where I've after half an hour in, I've realized I've not hit record, and that's not good. It's happened.
That's all right.
It's totally happened.
On all of our videos, isn't it? Like, that's fine. Let's do it again.
Yeah. It's a nuisance, but you just got to roll with the punches. And especially in a situation like when we were playing with that game, there were 7 people at the time, and you just have to roll. Whatever chaos is going on, you just have to roll with it.
I think
it was
fun.
That
can be... Oh, sorry, you were saying?
No, it was fun. That was all. Yeah.
It was fun, yeah. And there's a lot of things on YouTube to do with gaming, and things that are very serious. So I think it's really important to like bring the non-serious, the goofy stuff to. Yeah,
I think gaming. I like it when things go wrong.
Yeah.
So like if a game crashes, or like my system fails, or I don't know, like say I'm playing with yourself, for example, and like Rodin shows up, the cat shows up, and you can start hearing them meowing on the microphone. I like that kind of thing. It just normalizes. Like not everybody wants the highest score. Most people just want to have a bit of a laugh and just have some fun.
Oh, definitely.
So I'm not going to get 100% like clearance on a video game. I'm just going to check out the main sites of the game, get through it, enjoy myself, and then move on to the next game. So that's kind of how I go. Yep.
What do you think makes a good game for this kind of content?
There are some games. Recently, I tried playing Subnautica, which is like a big, expansive underwater exploration game, and it's got quite a slow pace. You have to like gather food resources, build up your base, and every now and then it will drop you a couple of clues on how you can like expand the story later on. And that kind of gameplay, I would say, is more suited to Twitch because it's a lot more laid back and you can chat with people in the chat as you come and go. Whereas on YouTube, for example, YouTube's a bit more... I need a bit more of a direction in how I make a gameplay. So if I can do it concisely within 20, 30 minutes, that's fine. Whereas something like Subnautica, that would take like 4 hours to get the same amount of content. And I don't like working live, so this is quite rare for me doing a live thing. Like I like to pre-record and then cut out all the boring bits. So yeah, there are certain games that I feel are suited to how I like to record, and I think that suits YouTube better than perhaps you would do on a different service. Did that answer the question? I got way off track. No,
I was just wondering. So you're up to stuff that's relatively fast-paced and relatively direct.
Or if a game has like a good steady pace and a sense of direction, because no one wants to sit and watch just someone level grinding for an hour, because that's a bit boring. But if you're doing it on a live stream on Twitch, then it's more of a social thing. So I would say different services offer different kinds of gameplays. So I prefer something that's a bit more, it has a bit more purpose. Where we're just looking at games in general. We're not looking at specific games. Sorry, I was reading the description.
There was nobody about what game it was. So
I was just not making it look like we have interaction. Doing the whole synergy or hitting buttons so I feel important. So it's something that's got a bit of a zap to it.
Yeah, or just like because I play like some murder mystery point and clicks. There's a game I'm doing at the minute called Chicken Police, and it's not exactly like fast paced or action, but there is a story. It's kind of like watching a movie kind of thing, and there's not like big gaps where there's nothing going on. So because I'm not the best at commentating, I'll freely admit this. So if I'm playing a game and there's just half an hour with nothing, no extra story or no extra things for me to talk about, I'm a bit stuck on what I can do. So that's why I like something that has it drip feeds me a little bit more things for me to talk about, and it just kind of keeps things a little bit more pacey.
So one of the things I noticed with your videos is you put on a lot of your own animations to try and highlight what's going on. Like in this one, these are your drawing at the start of it. There were your drawings, and now you got all the X's on there. How do you integrate those in? What software are you using for that? I believe you do normal pen and paper for the actual drawings.
I did it all straight into the computer.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's just
I was wrong.
No, it's just Clip Paint Studio. Is that what it's called? What's the one that overtook?
Clip Studio Paint.
That one. I just use that
program.
one.
I'm so pleased that you're using it as well. Like I've been using Clip Studio since it was like Manga Studio 3 and 4, and then it turned into Clip Studio. And it's so good. It's so good. I recommend it to everyone.
Yeah, Manga Studio was cool back in the day.
It was.
Yeah, I stopped drawing for like 2 or 3 years solid, and I'm like, I want to get back into it. Why not just do a little like avatar for the people who are on my gameplays, and I do it for my channel artwork as well. That's all my artwork as well.
So how do you then integrate it into the video? What software? Because I know OBS does a lot, but it's not like a video editor. So
no, I do have a dedicated video editing program. I'll find the name. I think it's Power Director.
Is that a freeware or is that
no?
Hey.
Yeah, Power Director is the one I use. I actually paid for that one. I think I got a lifetime, because you can it's one of these where you either have a subscription or you just pay for a lifetime fee. So I just I think it was about 120. It wasn't that cheap, but it's a one and done, and I've got it. So it's not a subscription.
I've been thinking about this because I've been getting into like the digital photography and into editing videos and all that. And it seems, yes, software is expensive, but when you've got people going, "Oh, I spent 600 quid on a camera," or I spent I spent X hundred quid on a pen, or sorry, on like a graphics tablet or whatever. 120 quid for a bit of it's to then correct and move all that. That doesn't sound that
It's not
bad.
too bad. It's not too bad, and I think that it's probably cheaper than subscribing, because I think it's about like £20 a month.
Yeah.
Whereas like in about 2 years, it would have paid itself off if I've just gone for the big one. So that's what I opted for.
Yeah. Plus, having tried to go the freeware route and the open source route on a number of occasions, oh boy, is that a nightmare! A lot of these people, brilliant at software, awful at interfaces and documentation. No, there will be no documentation. There will be no reason why anything is where it is in the menu.
Yeah,
so I'm just like,
there are two resources, GIMP and Blender. Like those interfaces made me weep. Like, no, I'd rather pay the money for a good interface and good quality stuff. There are like user interface plugins and things I understand that you can use to make it work a little bit more like an Adobe program or something. But I'm like, at the moment I can afford this, I'm just going to pay for the thing to make my life happy.
I can remember using GIMP back in the day and just giving up on graphical art for a while, and
like it actually put you off doing it.
Yeah, because I was using like Adobe Photoshop. No, it wasn't even Photoshop. It was Photo Express, which was like a free thing you got with a scanner.
Yes.
And everyone was like, "Oh no, you can't use that. You've got to use GIMP." And then I tried to use GIMP, and I just went, "Oh, I can't understand what on earth is going on here. It's absolutely terrible. Therefore, I'm awful at art. Bye."
Yeah, and that's a real thing. I don't think people take into account that having these difficult user interface. Oh, I've got a cat as well. Oh,
yes.
One of my cats has just joined. Come on, Gaga, you're gonna come up. Maybe not. But yeah, if you've got a bad user interface, it's going to put people off, and that's not what you want. You want to be encouraging and cheerleading people to make stuff. You've got the platforms for it now. You don't have to wait for a publisher or a broadcaster to pick it up. We can do it now.
In terms of making the videos, I'm really vanilla. I don't really use any of the plugins. Like if I'm using a drawing program, I don't use any special brushes. I'm very much with the default settings. So if I can produce like half decent results with the very basics, then it's a half decent program for me. So I'm happy to use it that way.
I think people
honestly. So
I know this is probably not the right thing to say in the creative corner, but I do think people underestimate the value of half decent results. Just the do it, get it out the door, and
get it done and improve upon it.
And moving it on.
The need for perfection, I can really understand it, but you're not going to publish anything if you wait for that.
No,
because nothing will ever be perfect, because you'll be ever evolving until you die.
If I waited until I was perfect, I probably wouldn't have started yet. So it's good just to do it and then learn from your mistakes and go that way.
And the other massive thing I've learned is that people don't care if it's not perfect. People are more happy to consume something that's in their hands. If it's quick, it's like your stuff is nicely edited. So yeah, I mean, other than Harry's, which we've been playing a lot of, and you had a story to say about Harry's, didn't you? About the wonderful results that could come from doing this kind of stuff.
Did I?
Yeah, the one you told us yesterday with the creator, that I said that would be really good story to tell us today. Do you want me to tell us your own story for you that you said you promised you'd tell?
Please, fill the blanks for me. Yes.
So do you remember when you started playing? God, when you were playing Harry's Haunted House service, and you put the video out there, and then you found out that the maker of it had got in touch with you.
Yeah, that was a really nice thing. Yeah.
Obviously, it touched you deep in there.
Actually, I had no idea what you were talking about. So yeah, don't worry about it.
It's just one of these things. Yeah, sorry. No, a lot of the time you'll put a video out and you just kind of forget about it, and then you just get like a message from someone. And yeah, in this case of Handy Harry's, it's actually the developer of the game, and it says, thanks for playing the game, that kind of thing. But it was lucky; it actually happened like within like the first week or so. Sometimes you'll get a message from about a year after you put a video out. Like at the minute, I played a game called Celeste like a couple of years ago. It's like a really hardcore platformer, and after about a year and a half, suddenly it's been discovered by the algorithm and it's suddenly getting loads of views. And YouTube's weird, you know.
Yeah.
It's hard
no
to
planning,
predict.
is there?
Yeah, and like being discoverable, like it. I would imagine that the developer of Handy Harry, they must have some kind of like notification system when someone plays their game for them to check it out, because there's no way to guarantee that you're going to see a video, even if it's of your interest. You might not discover it until it's been on there for like 6 years or something. It can be difficult, but no, it lucked out. He seems happy with what we're doing with it, and he seems to check in each time. So we just say hello, and he seems to appreciate that we're kind of like a bit of a bigger group, just having fun with it, you know, not taking it too seriously.
Absolutely. Like there are a couple that you said, a couple of gamers, they played Handy Harry from the start with speed runs, but there's a bit in Handy Harry now for viewers that aren't familiar with the game. There's about 12 things that you have to fix in this haunted house. It is, after all, Handy Harry's haunted house services. We need to fix the things and then get out. So that's the thing. You need to.
So the bastard ghosts don't eat us.
Oh, they're
a lot.
ghosts are forever haunting this house, but you need to avoid them if you can. Not always possible. Fix the things. There's a floor. There's a fuse box. And there's a dripping pipe, and I think that's it.
Yep.
So 4 lots of those, 12 altogether. Fix them all. Press the lever once you've done them all, and get out in the lift that you get in, and that's it. Very rarely do we actually manage to do that. But that's part of the fun. You can drop if a ghost gets you, your torch gets dropped. Someone else can pick up a torch. Someone else can, or you can pick up a battery, and then you actually can regenerate your colleagues and get them back in the house to try and find. But the houses are so randomly generated. There's no maps or anything, which can be a bit discombobulating, I think. I have a terrible sense of direction with new maps and new houses and everything. Unless I've played a game 1,000 times with the same house, I'm not going to remember where everything is. So that's what makes it difficult for me. But it's also part of the fun because it's ridiculous.
There does seem to be a bit of a because Harry's is like what, £3, £4?
It's cheap, yeah.
There's a whole bunch of because you've played us through a couple. What are the other ones that you're playing and you're throwing up at the moment? You're throwing videos up on at the moment.
Another one is like they seem to be like about the price of a drink, you know. So if you're just going to go out on the night with some friends, you get a couple of drinks. And everyone's in lockdown at the minute, so it's the equivalent. You know, you're going to just hang out online with some friends, not in the pub, but online. So yeah, Handy Harry's is a good example of that. Just hang out with some friends. Lunch Lady, we're playing at the minute. We're just running around the school, running away from the lunch lady while you try and take the exam paper results because you want to cheat on your test. The other one, we're playing Devour, where you're a part of a cult and you're sacrificing goats to ward off a demon person. It's strange. And so strange. Yeah, and then the Phasmophobia as well. And in Phasmophobia, I'll make it extra difficult because I play that in costume, but I wear this is the costume I wear for it. So
like trying to see and trying
hang
to
on.
Yeah.
Okay. No. Just keep it there because like you're just randomly. So talk us through that. How much does that weigh?
It's not too bad.
I can lift with one arm. Wow, that's so great.
Okay, right. Who wants to know about how he made the giant? What creature is that? Is that like a dragon head?
Right?
I mean, I guess it's a dragon. I've never really figured it out.
Furry dragon. Okay, how? Just talk us through that because that's
Yeah, what got you into making like full on fursuits?
Basically, I was making cosplay, and then COVID happened. So with no Comic-Con, there's no reason to cosplay. But I still wanted to make a thing.
So how many hours did that take, and how did you articulate the jaw?
The jaw's just elastic. It's just a piece of elastic each side of the jaw. So it's in full suspension, basically.
Okay.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, pretty much.
And where are you looking out of them, Matt?
There's like mesh here.
Oh, okay. That's great for Phasmophobia, that notoriously dark game.
Yeah, I've got about 40% visibility of the screen at any given time. So I'm always like trying to get the full view. I mean, like a regular sonar kind of
workout.
Visual. Yeah. It's tricky, but because the game's kind of slow paced and you don't need that much detail or reaction time for it, it's not too bad. I like the struggle. I like the challenge. So
Challenge yourself every day playing games.
Okay.
yeah, it took a few months to build, but that's in between. Like you do it and then you get discouraged, then you kind of go and lie in a darkened room for about a week at a time, then come back to it later. It's that kind of process. So I can't give a definite time on how much it took. But
These are long-term projects. You just get stuck in and
like it's not a weekend job at all. It's a little bit at a time, right?
No. Yeah, it took a while. It's such a slapdash job though, because
oh bro, it doesn't look slapdash at all.
It looks lovely.
No, I didn't design it ahead of time. So I just I got like a base mask from like Hobbycraft. It's just like a plastic thing, and from that I just started sticking things onto it. And if it didn't work, I'm just like, okay, I'll change the design then. So I just kept going, and this is how it ended up.
Lovely organic process. I can imagine people approaching it from a really like engineering point of view, almost, and cutting things to scale. But like as a creative person myself, I'm absolutely not like that. Oh, Wikivik has asked a great question. Did you build any prototypes?
No.
Was there any
foolish question?
No, I didn't.
So this is the prototype. Was there any sketching?
This is
no.
The beginning and the end.
You had absolutely. You just went into this raw. Let's put this together. No, this is like how I do my gardening. This is great.
I wasn't even sure it was going to be a dragon when I started. So it's like, what does it look like? I'll go in that direction. So I played it to its strengths. If it wasn't looking like I wanted it to, I would have changed to whatever it was looking like. So
was there? Did you go for any tutorials when doing it, or reference anyone else's work, or was it literally just you, whatever materials you use, and determination?
I did about a half an hour's worth of research. So
amazing.
That's about 3 videos on YouTube on how-tos. That was my research.
Brilliant.
And like the material was basically leftovers from a cosplay. So there are only these colors because that's all I had.
You put a lot of forethought into these, especially as you then went and made that your gaming avatar. Which came first?
The costume came first, and then I worked out how to draw it.
Fantastic.
So it's proper asked about face. It really is.
That's brilliant. One of the other things you do, of the many things you do, the ridiculous quantity of things you do. We're not jealous, Gov. You've also been doing the Ushio's Manga Corner.
Yeah.
So talk us through that.
It's one of these things where if you're the kind of person who feels guilty by just having fun. You got to try and make it productive. So if I'm going to waste a lot of time reading manga, I might as well try and make something from it. Same with playing video games.
So your motivation for your creativity is guilt.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right. Okay.
So productive struggle that a lot of people kind of want to justify themselves with.
Yeah. How many
really
shows have you done
actually.
now? Yeah, I can relate.
It is because like, look at me and Andy doing this show. We're like, well, we've sat down and watched a lot of Netflix. What should we do about that now? Let's talk about it for an hour.
To be fair, I don't feel guilty. I'm just an opinionated arsehole that wants to inflict my thoughts on the world.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
I'll let you know. There's no guilt here. It's pure ego. So, what stuff have you... okay, obvious question. Are you covering Dick Fight Island, or have you covered Dick Fight Island?
It's the most popular video on my channel.
Fantastic.
I was ready for the question. I was ready.
So, other than it's the #1 selling manga on Amazon, what sorts? Is it literally just what you've read, or do you go for any stuff that you feel like you should review, or stuff that you think that you know, either because it's popular or because you think it's important, or is it just I read this, here's my thoughts? What do you think makes a good review material?
It's a bit of both. Like generally, I don't really approach the super popular series. So like, you know, One Piece, My Hero Academia, this kind of stuff, basically because they're so well covered everywhere else. It doesn't need somebody else's 2p. I think there's enough eyes on those properties already. So
I
I'm a
hear
little bit more off the beaten track, and also I've got a bit of a backlog, so I kind of skew a little bit toward the older stuff that's maybe out of print, because I'll pick it up on eBay on impulse about 5 years ago, and then I forget about it, and I'm like, oh shit, I should probably read that now. So it's getting me through my reading pile, which is kind of cool.
this is very similar to what I do with Trash or Treasure, and it's I'm trying to avoid stuff that people have already covered, but it's also things I want to watch.
Yeah, I've got an example.
So I definitely hear you on that.
So yeah, here's some unread Tokyo Pop.
Ooh,
Psychic Academy, and
Psychic Academy, I remember that. Yeah.
it's not very good.
spoilers.
No.
Yeah, it's like I read a couple of volumes and then I ran out of steam. I'm just like, I'll come back to it later. But by the time I might want to do a review, I'd have forgotten what the story was in volume 1, so I can't really explain it. So I'm not going to review it. So
Absolutely.
so it's kind of a bit making it up as you go along how I do stuff.
When manga becomes a chore, that's why the to-do pile exists as a to-do pile, to read pile. Because I'm in exactly the same situation. I've got loads.
Yeah.
Usually books for cheap that we picked up at auction houses for like 50 pence a book or something, and you think, well, these used to cost 5-6 quid when they came out. Now they're about 10-11 per book. So let's give them a try. But then you're like, oh, this is why I didn't give it a try at the time, because this is boring. Like it doesn't inspire me. Like a lot of the storylines are very tropey, etc. And it's, as you say, they're not memorable, are they?
Yeah, in that one, he's got proper like main character syndrome. The only reason he's popular and surrounded by girls is because he's not an active douchebag. You know, he's okay. He's like a regular dude, but that's his only redeeming feature. He hasn't got anything else going for him.
Same.
So
I will say this is the advantage with reviewing movies, is that number one, the DVD purges of people's collections is brilliant, because you can just find absolutely random stuff for 50p. But also it's like you bung it on, it takes an hour to watch, you can do it whilst doing something else, and then bang, it's done. So it's a lot easier to watch bad movies than it is to read bad literature. But this might be a bit of an abstract question, but this is coming from someone who writes reviews, so it is, this is a serious question. What do you think makes a good review? When you're trying to do your reviews, what are you trying? What attributes are you trying to put into that content that you think make it worth someone watching your stuff?
Yeah, I can only talk about how I prefer to do a review, because I
literally
like
asking you that, so that's
fine.
Sorry.
But I have a couple of random philosophies about it. I don't think that I should just turn around and tell people that this is a good manga, you need to be reading it, that kind of thing. There aren't too many titles I would do that with. It's more about pairing up the right kind of reader with the right kind of manga. And then, because I'm not going to say everybody needs to read Berserk, it's going to be the best thing that everyone's going to love forever. There are going to be audiences that don't appreciate the content or are just not interested in fantasy or something like that. So it's about seeing what the manga is trying to achieve, and does it achieve what it's setting out to do? If it's a comedy, is it funny? If it isn't funny, then it's not working on its own little what it's trying to do. If it's failed in its own terms, then it's probably not worth reading as much. Whereas if someone who really likes that kind of manga, maybe they're going to be more forgiving to it anyway. So I don't know. It's yeah.
No, that's the Roger Ebert school of, like, don't judge the genre, judge how it stacks against its contemporaries and the audience it's trying to attract.
Yeah. It's kind of like a wider perspective on the manga, because obviously you got something like One Piece, which by this point is probably immune to any kind of criticism or any kind of
I think when you reach issue 500 of a series, anything you do, they're going to buy it.
Yeah, the fans are so invested. It doesn't matter whether you think it's good or not. It's found its audience. It's got nothing else to prove. So
when you can crush someone to death by dropping the series on their head.
Yeah, use it as a weapon.
Yeah, we're up to chapter 909, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it reached 1,000. 1,000 chapters. Oh my word.
I think 100 volumes as well now.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Which and
yeah.
that isn't even the longest manga.
Oh, no.
It's
No, no.
Kochikame, which is about
Kochikame.
a middle-aged policeman.
Yep.
And then you've got Hajime no Ippo, which I think
Yep.
is up to 140.
Yeah.
books as
Yeah,
well.
like Golgo 13, something like this as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's. I was going to say that's got to be, considering how many pages go into each of those issues. That's got to be
minimum 20 pages per chapter, and then it's 7 or 8 chapters a book.
Oh,
Yeah,
right. I thought
something like that,
when you said 1,000 chapters, you meant 1,000. Right. Okay. Cool.
No, it's over 100 books, but each
Right.
one will contain between 7 and 10 chapters now. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're like
That's
20 pages a week.
that's
Still every week. That's like 40 pages.
Yeah,
20
One
20
Piece
pages
is
a
extra
week,
crazy.
yeah.
I think they put in like an extra chapter per book, so all of the books are like 220 pages because
They're
they're really chunky
massive.
things. So he's really
Yeah.
throwing everything into it. It's a hell of a thing, to be honest.
Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
interesting how the comic about pirates was more popular in Japan, and the comic about ninjas, Naruto, was more popular in America.
Yeah.
Like, it was popular. Naruto was really popular in Japan.
Yeah, I think at the minute, like My Hero Academia is disproportionately popular in Western territories,
Yeah,
whereas
I
in
would
Japan
agree.
it does well. It's fine,
Mm.
but not to the extent in America. I think it's like a huge deal.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting to see what is and isn't popular because, like, Case Closed, Conan is super popular in Japan, whereas over here it hasn't really picked up quite as much.
Not really.
It's also going to be interesting as Netflix is investing more in Japan, but converting the content less. So that they're investing a lot in Japanese animation, but they're not trying to anglicize it.
No.
They're just letting it run. So that's going to be interesting to see.
But, however, they have invested in things like Castlevania, which is essentially Western anime. With Western...
Yeah, but that's the West that made an anime rather than anime that was made in Japan by. I know what I meant.
I think it is kind of cool with Netflix because they don't have to adhere to like television censorship. So you get something like Baki that can be that little bit more than what you would normally get on TV.
Baki.
Yeah, it's just unrestrained sort of thing. I respect that. I don't mind that. And I think
so
because
ridiculous.
a lot of I think a lot of the people who pay for Netflix are a little bit older, which means that the titles they're picking, that's why you're getting Devilman.
Yeah.
They are skewing a little bit older than what you're getting on, regular TV.
Yeah. Devilman was amazing. Like,
anyway,
I was like, I'm just gonna watch an episode, and then I was up till about 1 o'clock watching the entire thing. Like, it just was entirely.
So, any before we move on to the next creator, any final thoughts on people generally making stuff? Considering you're a video artist, reviewer, graphic designer, editor. Any thoughts on?
I think my doorbell just went. I'm not answering it. I'm not answering it.
Do it, you coward! Any advice to people on just getting stuff out there?
Just do it. Like, if it's your first time out, it's unrealistic to expect it to be perfect first time out. So just do a thing, and then you've actually got something that you can look at, and then try and like what worked that time, what didn't work, what can I improve on, what did I enjoy, what did I not enjoy, and you can just kind of hone it. So the more you do, the more you've got you've got in your process to move forward.
So we now move on to the next creator, which curiously enough is PinkAppleJam.
Yay!
Who always says so, adding to her many brands.
Well, basically, so I'm part of the creative corner because, we had a couple of people approach very last minute, unfortunately, and nobody could make it. So I was like, I know, some new things. Let's talk about this for a little bit. So yeah, so Old Otaku Vintage is old otaku, old Japanese nerd, like fanboy, fangirl, whatever, vintage stuff. So I've basically released another Etsy shop because I've got one long-running Etsy shop that covers all my illustration stuff. But I thought, well, my sewing stuff I haven't illustrated as such, but I still like making. So let's kind of separate the two. So yeah, Old Otaku Vintage birthed last weekend, I think. And I've been at my little sewing thing. So square things I like to make. Mainly square things. But it all came about because I dug out my sewing stash. I used to sew maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago, rather a lot. I actually worked part-time in a sewing shop as well in my city of Cambridge. which was great. But then I don't know, something just snapped, and I just couldn't sew anymore. I think it's because I was probably a bit sad about my skill set not developing too much, but now I'm just happy with where my skill set is. I tried again, and that my skill set didn't kind of deplete, so I thought, fine, I'm never going to be like any couture sewer or anything like that. I'm just going to make my stuff. It seems to be cute. People like it. I've made 1 or 2 sales already. It's been open a week, 2 weeks, or whatever. So yeah, I've got some really cute material, and I want to make stuff with it. And
where do you get the material from
for
this
gosh,
one?
all sorts of places. This I might have got from my friend, Bethany, who used to run Tokyo Textiles, about 10 years ago. It might have been something from Bethany. It might have been from the sewing shop I used to work with. It's a mystery. I can't quite remember.
So, and I asked this one knowing the answer. So do you just like see material, buy it, squirrel it away, going, I will use it one day?
100% yes. That's exactly what happens. And I think most people that make stuff with their sewing machine
As the
would
textile
agree with me as
vaults
well.
within the Super Fortress will testify.
It's like magpieism, but with fabric.
Well, one day you'll use it,
Exactly.
Hey, she's got the textile vaults. I may have 1 or 2 cable binds.
Maybe a few.
Maybe a couple.
Yeah.
So the embellishment you put on,
Yeah.
I'm going to try, and because this is surprisingly difficult for me to do because this is on sideways. The embellishment you put on here.
Yeah.
Did that come with the zip, or is that something you?
It's something that I put together. So we've got the little star embellishment that I just think is cute and just adds a little extra kawaii detail to things. I've got a small zip. We've got the outer fabric with the sewing, and then I've got like dotted or plainer material for the inner layer, and maybe sometimes a mesh if the fabric is quite thin. Then we'll just need something in the middle to stop the pattern showing through. Like when you're reading a book and the paper's thin and you can see the print from one side to the other side, anything to kind of stop that. So Wikifix just asked us some good questions. So how do I store materials for my creative projects? In a really, really professional,
in the vaults,
in a really useful box, or 3. They're all stacked up in my study. 3 boxes. Do I need to keep stuff separated out to keep track of it all? That is, if I had the space, I probably would. I'm afraid it's just thrown in a box. But it's great because when it's thrown in a box, I completely forget that I've got it, and I'm like, "Oh, I could make this." And
every day is Christmas when you open your box up that way.
It really is.
I would like to endorse really useful boxes, because one of the best things about really useful boxes, two the best things. Number one, you can measure your shelf and then order a box based on the measurements of that shelf, so you know exactly what you're getting and whether it'll fit. And number two, they have a wonderful diagram that shows what will stack with what.
It is true.
So
it is true.
We're not paid by really useful boxes, but if really useful boxes want to sponsor this show,
we've got rather a lot of really useful boxes.
We'll still be in debt to them for the rest of our lives.
We will. Do you happen to have a picture of a mask or anything else?
The next one I got is The next one I've got is this.
Yep, same again, but kind of square. It's a little bit wonky looking, actually, looking at this one close by. But the thing is, when you fill it with pencils, like, you won't notice. So that there you go. It's got an inner fully lined. And I wanted an accessibility thing, so I made quite a chubby what's the word, zip pull around a chunky zip as well. So it's got that extra thing, like if you're suffering from fatigue or whatever, you can just kind of go open it up. That's it.
So are these patterns you made yourselves, or patterns you found, or
these are patterns I purchased. That is something that I am going to be doing in the future, which is making repeat patterns and sending them off to a company that will print them on cotton or other fabric.
No, I mean for the design.
Oh right, no, they're actually completely freehand, which is why they're slightly wonky, because one of the things that I put in the made with, and I'll put like zip, cotton fabric, and ADHD hyperfixation. Like, I'll just go on and I'll just do it. Like, no patterns, no squares, no nothing. Like, is it relatively straight? Yeah, that's it. It's the same machine.
It is. I will confess, it is when you are churning them out. it is wonderful to see the industry involved.
Oh, thank you.
And just
Industrious is something I was
Yeah.
always cold, which was nice. But like, and then I'll get really burnt out, and then I won't do anything anymore.
Yeah, no, I've unfortunately I've seen that.
Yeah. Oh,
So these are lovely. Talk us through these.
This is my cookie earring set. So I found a good glue type, and there's nothing more amazing.
All
when you
about the
find
glue.
A good glue type, because I bought some steel earring studs with butterflies on the back, and I found some cookie. What would you call it? Just little tiny models. It's almost like they're doll's house models. And so having that special glue, like, I know this sounds like what a weird thing to talk about, glue, but so many years I've just tried glue and things have not glued. They have fallen apart a couple of months, and I'm like, well, I can't sell anything with this glue because it will just come apart in,
But
that's
glue,
not an item when your things will fall off.
glue
So,
is not just glue. Glue is a chemical compound that has specific characteristics that interacts with other compounds and other materials in very specific way. It ages certain ways. It fastens certain ways. Oh, glue's just glue. No. Glue
well,
is a whole cornucopia of questions and
that's my point.
requirements. And
With technology advancing since the last time I used these earrings, unless you like soldered them together, I wanted something that would properly glue, like steel and plastics together. So I finally found a good glue, which meant that I could buy like a cute little jewelry box, and I could put my logo on, and and it just make this little gift set. And I found I've forgotten what they're called, but the loop that are glued on the back of the creamy cookie in the middle with the cute necklace. But just being able to package them is really satisfying for me. And the illustration in the background is one that I drew myself as well. So it's not just making the jewelry; it's like making the entire shebang, like the packaging, the gift box, the making sure that it's not going to get damaged in transit, the printing labels. Like, I really enjoy that. Some people, it really does their head in, and they actually stop selling on Etsy or whatever because they're like, what, this is a pain in the backside. But I find it really fun. I don't particularly draw new illustrations for my stuff. I just go through like my asset archive of posters that I've drawn in the past as well, and I think, oh, what would match, and this color scheme worked quite well, and cookies and tea parties and Lolita.
so it's
fashion.
recycling and reusing and
finding a new use for an older thing, and just keeping my brand, I guess you'd call it, going by just kind of putting things together in a new way.
I had a question about that. I'm just rolling back quickly because the site's pitched as old taku. And this is more like a lot more of a rockabilly look to it.
It is, but it's also older and retro. It's old taku vintage. So
all right,
that's kind of cornucopia of older stuff, but it's not specifically anime. It's vintage, and it's old anime manga and things like that.
I mean, there has been a certain amount of rockabilly styling in anime for a long time because it's been big on the Japanese scene. So okay, and then we
quiffs, space dandy, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god, I was just thinking of the mega quiff in Redline.
Oh, Redline's so good.
Oh,
Redline's the really coolest thing.
So good, and the dub is amazing.
Yeah,
I did not realize this until I saw it on the big screen. It's actually so good.
I was on the Incredibly Strange Movie Facebook. Someone posted up about Redline, and all these people were just like, yeah. I watched it by myself and it was all right, and then I went to an event and watched it with a load of people at 11 o'clock at night, and it was brilliant.
Yeah. And that's a very good point, because we watched it and we were like, oh, it's good, it's fun, and then we watched it with a bunch of really good friends and we were totally in it. It was almost like Eurovision experience, but just with race cars in space. I
think there's something about the combination of it's a very, very simple plot and it's very ridiculous, and you get lots of people together and it's simple enough that you can just totally get into it. It's a wonderful late night beer and pretzels movie.
It's really cool. The love that's got into that film is pretty incredible. One of the last great like hand-drawn animated movies kind of thing. Really, really good.
I've heard people say, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, no, that's the point. It doesn't need to.
It's a celebration of the art form.
How would that car work? I don't care.
It's not there for the story.
The animation, yes.
Yeah, soundtrack for sure.
Yeah. well, it's the way the two work together, I think, as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, moving on. We have. Oh God, if the button will work. So this is one of your masks.
A mask. This is upcycle. This was a sleeve of one of my dresses. Cut off. And I decided to make a mask of it because it just so happened that how the sleeve fell. When I cut the sleeve off and put it down, it actually made like the side of a mask. I'm like, this would literally make a good mask. So yeah, this is double lined. It's got black cotton on the inside.
You can see that here.
Yep, there we go. The pattern is actually fluorescent as well, so it just looks different. Obviously, the fluorescentness is not showing up. And I've got a handmade with love label. You'll see on the left, there's a little cat playing with a just a ball of wool. So there's some cute little labels that I got.
Yeah.
And then there's some silken loops, and the elastic goes through the loops because I just about had enough fabric to make the masks, but not enough to make it go.
I think you see it better on this side, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And it's also got a nose wire in it as well that I sewed in. And then I end up turning it all inside out. Like sew it inside out, turn it back out.
So you did this as obviously like as a COVID era product. Mm-hmm. Did you follow any kind of pattern or anything for that? Because it's designed for a technical purpose. So, how did you make sure it was up to speed?
Typical Laura fashion. I downloaded the pattern, read the instructions, started, then got really frustrated with not kind of being able to visualize what's needed. So I kind of put the instructions in the bin and made my friends a whole load of masks to kind of figure out what it was that I needed to actually do. And through trial and error, I got to be able to do them off by hand now. So I use one pattern to cut out the mask, and I try and make them big because then they're comfortable. Because if they're like average size, I mean, obviously everybody's face is a different shape. But I like making them large because they're actually more comfortable, and you can chat without having to worry about your lower jaw, like nudging your mask off your nose, for example. Or
it's the two levels. It's the two layers of material for casual. I can't remember what the technical phrase for it is. It's like these aren't surgical, these aren't medical grade, but they're good enough for walking around casual stuff.
But hands up, who's caught a cold or more than one or two colds this year? So it's got to be good. I remember seeing a tweet saying, as soon as, when COVID's over, I'm still going to wear a mask. Like, I can't believe I let you all breathe on me. I see that. I understand
I'm, as people know, I'm old school industrial. So I'm just like, wow, I can now actually just wear a mask the whole time, regardless.
I'll do that shit for fun. So whatever.
Yeah.
I am fine wearing a mask. Absolutely fine. Like, it's not.
I don't like people seeing my eyes, let alone my goddamn mouth.
That's it.
It does make me laugh though, because it reminds me of really early Yurusei Yatsura, where Ataru Moroboshi is trying to run away from his, alien wife Lum, who's, chasing after him for cheating on her again, etc. But he's like hiding out in a noodle shop, and he's got his sunglasses and a big mask, a surgical mask, and he's trying to eat his noodles under a mask. But it's like, has anybody seen this man? He owes us lots of money because him and his girlfriend have destroyed this by accident, but we want him to pay. And he's like, oh shit. So he has to like run out of this shop with the noodle bowl, because it's like, even under a disguise, like, people know who I am. So that really made me laugh.
I must warn people, the following picture might give them diabetes. That.
Wow.
Yes. And that's
so talk us through this one, dear.
That's such a terrible stereotype as well, because sugar does not give you diabetes. It's something you have to watch out if you do have diabetes. Anyway, so yeah, this is some of my super cutesy stash, and I have a lot of this Care Bears material. But I thought it was really cute because it covered old and new Care Bears designs as well. Like rainbows, give them to me. I love a good rainbow. Like, I'm all about it. And all of these masks, I'm like, if I make one for you, one to sell, one for me, one to sell, I'm like, I'm gonna have so many masks. Maybe that's my intention. Maybe I just want to make cute masks for myself. And, just cutting out the material, I'm like, well, it's not worth it for a while. I might as well
just reintroduce it as an aesthetic.
There you go.
Well, I think it's kind of becoming. It's a thing I've been noticing amongst certain creative types, that it's become the new party favor. It's like, hi, how are you doing? Here's a mask I made for you. Like,
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Lovely. So be it. I think that's lovely. In fact, our first masks were made, commissioned from our friend Tiger Chili. And then I was inspired by that craftsmanship, and I was like, and it took me a long time. Like I was almost intimidated because I'd never made a mask before. But I needed to just have the time, get my head around it, and even though, you know, maybe it would have been more beneficial for me to start making these a year ago or whatever, I just needed to be in the mindset where I was comfortable and confident making them. But I think over, you know, if someone's got a cold post COVID, in a post COVID world, they're going to wear a mask out of courtesy. We've all learnt that, you know, covering your mouth and washing your hands is a good way to not catch cold, not pass on a cold.
This is something that casual creators I've been having a discussion with a number of them. I mean, I know that for like full-term paid creators, COVID has been a brilliant opportunity to just make stuff, because that's their job and they have to do that. But for casual creators who we're going through the apocalypse. There's nothing wrong with your not being able to make anything, even if you are stuck at home and you've got nothing else to do. There's nothing wrong with going, I can't make this thing because I'm not in the mood, because, you know, it's like, well, there's this life-threatening thing happening. It's really big. It's really serious. Even after, you know, even at this point in the cycle, I still think there is nothing wrong with going, I'm just not in the mood. And it is that thing. It's like,
but we have that guilt because I think someone said the worst thing that's happened to making artwork is being called content. Therefore, we're like, if we're not producing, it's actually affecting our self-worth now. And that's great if you've got the content and, you know, we're making stuff, but also, you know, it's hard. It is really hard. I mean, I published the last issue of my comic. I haven't got a copy to hand. When in January, it came out in January, and it's June. I really need to get cracking on starting to draw the last 2 issues. But I just haven't, like, I get so burnt out. It's not always possible to do it.
Oh no, I'm more than anyone. I'm aware of that. It's more just this.
I'm not interpreting this as a criticism in any
No.
way. I'm
It's
basically saying I completely agree, and here's my examples of why. Yeah, and Wikivic says that content makes it all sound so throwaway too, and it's
I agree with that. Yeah,
it's absolutely true.
It disassociates it from the worth of what the content actually is. It just makes it content, you know. It's like someone who wants to be a celebrity. You're not a celebrity just for the sake of being famous. You're a celebrity because you've done something.
Yeah.
So it's like, that kind of association.
I tell you, though, it's like it commodifies it. It means a 5-minute video is a 5-minute video, and what's in that 5 minutes, you know, it's 5 minutes of content.
Yeah.
What's in it becomes immaterial.
But it probably took like an hour to do. Even if it's
I mean, I know with the stuff I make with Needlessly Aggressive, I've completely not been able to do anything, partly because I just didn't think it was appropriate. As I've said before on this, I didn't think it was appropriate in the situation we were in. Partly because I just didn't have the inspiration, and partly because, you know, I didn't have the energy. And I think there's this huge difference. So at the moment, for various reasons, me and Laura are like isolating for 3 days, so we can't go anywhere. I've never wanted to go down the shops more.
It's because someone said you can't do it.
Yeah. And so I think the fact that everyone's stuck at home, the fact that, you know, it's like making stuff for me is a nice escape from the daily grind.
Yeah.
But now I'm always at home and I've always got this free time, so I don't want to fill it with anything. It's that weird don't want to thing.
Complex. And what's lovely though is that the internet and social media have allowed us, you know, as friends as well as, you know, content creators, to talk about these sorts of things and say, yes, these feelings are absolutely valid. Like, just take away any stress or painful feeling about that. It's like, you know, I enjoy seeing what you make whenever you make it. Don't feel that you have to do it. Like, some people think with Patreon, it's like, I must do something every month, and I'm like, that's literally impossible if you've got so much other stuff going on, like full-time job, part-time job, some other big commission. My Patreon, I update it whenever I do make something, which is honestly on average every other month. And sometimes conventions after a big break, like I've been doing with Biomecha. And the amount of people over the years, like I remember finished Biomecha 4, but I hadn't gone on to Biomecha 5. And someone said, have you finished it? Have you given up on it? And I was like, how dare. I was having a really long break because I was at university.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something that I could do because university was wiping me out. There's no way I could do the comic. Even 20 pages a year at the time, I couldn't do it.
But like Ushio, you were saying with your for which of a better phrase, your guilt-driven reviews, which is basically what you said. It's like, I suspect you want to do it because you're doing it because you want to discuss the content more, and because you've got this huge wish to get the stuff out, you know, to analyze it.
I enjoy manga. I enjoy manga. I've always liked it. I've been reading it for a long time.
But the way that you say, the way that you
on a manga forum, you know, mainly making because we were
the way that you frame it. And I'm not picking on you. I'm just I'm not. Trust me. I'll have you on the floor in tears if I was picking on you.
Christ.
The way that you're framing it, I think that says a lot about this whole content, the points-based creation of all that stuff. You know, you're doing it because you enjoy it, but then you feel like you got to do it because it justifies you reading the stuff, even though everyone knows reading stuff is its own justification. It's just
pretty much.
And
I think it's just
the
existential dread of all millennials seem to suffer. If you can't monetize your hobbies, then you're doomed.
That's the thing.
That's
the absolute thing.
Please, and it's hard. Like I can't remember the last time I just drew something and I didn't put it online. Maybe that's why I don't draw so much, because I seem to have this urge and need, and it's hard, isn't it?
I mean, even the stuff I do with Needless, that's probably a reaction against that, so that's fueled by that, and it's a very. I mean, some of my proudest reviews, I also know, you know, some of the best stuff I've made for Bunkazilla's got very few hits, and I'm kind of like, but then I realized, no, that was a brilliant bit of writing. It's just that people aren't that into that thing. So
it's discoverability as well. If you're not on, you know, that algorithm or whatever you want to call it, like the quantity isn't equivalent to popularity. Like you can be great, but you just didn't catch that audience.
Yeah, but it's like the recent one I did was Army of the Dead. And it wasn't bad writing, but it was, hey, look, here's another article about how Army of the Dead was a bad movie. And I got it out like a day after the movie dropped. And it's got hits. For Bunkazilla, it's done very nicely. Yeah. And it's shooting fish in a barrel because, oh my God, that movie.
Yeah, no, it's like the thing that you'll do like throwaway and not really think about it. That's the thing that'll be popular. It's guaranteed, you know. Yeah. But the thing you really spend time on, no, you get like 2 views or something like that.
But I dug up.
Case in point with that, like our friend draws these comics and loads of time spent on each page, and there's every page, and then they drew something and popped it up on Tumblr, and that's got like bajillions of blogs.
Yeah, the throwaway stuff. Yeah.
Why does this happen? But it does.
De Valmont from Bela Lugosi's Shed he got like 15k likes and a similar amount of retweets recently because he swore about someone being racist, and he's just like, wow, that was just me stating the obvious with swears.
Yeah.
All the other stuff, I mean, it gave a show, and it gave the wonderful Bela Lugosi's Shed a nice little bump, but it was just like, you never know, but it's the dumbest of stuff that spreads. Just keep on creating, keep on making. You know what we're like.
That's the bottom line. Just make it when you can. Your friends enjoy it.
Speaking of people who make stuff,
what?
The bit at the bottom of the sheet, we're coming up to the 2-hour mark.
We are coming up to the 2-hour mark. Actually,
we're not rushing Ushio away. Ushio, Laura's got a couple.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
Good. Laura's going to make, because Laura's going to mention two people that make stuff that we wanted to just plug because why not? Because they're lovely.
Yeah, so I've got it now. Sorry, I put my finger way back then. So yeah, we are coming to the end of the show. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening, and thank you so much, Ushio, for being our guest on.
Thank you, Ushio.
Genki. So I want to mention two of my artist friends. I've got Jessica Brown Drost, aka Jezebel's Art. She's on Instagram.com as Jezebel's_art. I'm going to write it down here. Put it in the chat. There you go. So Jess is an illustrator / comic book artist from Southampton. Jess loves gaming, anime, manga, art, and crafts. And she also has an account for her doggo called Chunk's Posse.
Chunk has a posse.
Chunk does have a posse. So you must go as well and find Chunk's Posse.
Yes.
And I also want to mention Vicky Dalton, aka WikiVic, who's
been commenting along.
Well, so thank you so much for your queries. I'm going to put your Twitter in the chat as well. So Vicky is an illustrator and a graphic designer. The Twitter account's a personal account, and it has a blend of games, artwork, mindfulness comics, which have been so lovely to see, especially during these difficult times. Pictures, mini rambles, and manga chats, and that's exactly what I'm here for on the internet. So yes, hope to speak to Vicky hopefully for a future episode if we can all get the timings right. So that would be lovely.
Ushio, what do you want to plug?
World peace.
Okay, we'll take that. I'm going to do a big shout out to the Bunkazilla, a couple of Bunkazilla patrons. We've got Lyoko is great, and we've got Mangaville Harriet. They're both wonderful people who have signed up as gold monsters on Patreon. Please do go to Bunkazilla on Patreon. Find out all about the stuff. Get involved. We've got some new tiers going on there. Just helping out with the whole Bunkazilla thing. Keep an eye out on the Twitch for more Bunkazilla fun coming over the weekend. And go to Bunkazilla and all that. Laura, do you have anything you want to say as per the script?
I think, yes, Trash or Treasure. Let's not forget Trash or Treasure. It's basically every Thursday we watch an older film, and we talk about it on Discord, and at the end of the day, the film, we vote on how and why it is trash or treasure.
And theoretically, that week, I then do a write-up of it.
Theoretically. So yeah, basically, if you go to the Stomping Grounds, which is the Bunkazilla Stomping Grounds on Facebook, you'll have more information about that, a link to the Discord, and also just sign up for a regular Bunkazilla update.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to become the copy editor for Trash or Treasure, please get in touch, because
that would give me a break.
someone is fed up with dealing with my inability to write basic English.
Like, there's so many articles.
Anyway, that's everything from the Super Fortress. We managed to get through this one without any bastard MoleMan attacking us.
I'm sorry.
I'm still suspect of Ushio. Have a conversation with your brethren and their sinister gods. Yes, we're going to be back later this month.
Like 3 weeks. So
we're going to be back on the 26th for more of this. It's 3 weekends.
26th of June is the next one.
So, next one. We will undoubtedly have watched even more stuff by then. And if you want to take part in the Creative Corner, give us a shout. If all else fails, be here. And we've got the big stomp coming up at the end of the month as well. And keep an eye on bunkazilla.co.uk because it's awesome. Thanks to Miss Kesem. Thanks to everyone in the comments. Thanks to WikiVic. Thanks to Grey Area. We love you all. Bye.
Bye.